Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Dune Awakening video. This is the ultimate Stillsuit build guide, Combat Hybrid. The format for today's video will differ in that rather than just taking you guys through a single lab run, I'm going to be taking you on an entire trip into the deep desert. The goal with the Stillsuit build is to make it into the deep desert without a water bottle. Completely fill our assault storage to the brim, and then solo a PVE lab in the deep desert before returning home. In my typical video style, I'm going to try and keep the entire recording intact, no edits, no cuts. But in some areas I will fast forward as the recording was over an hour long. You will notice the water meter on the left side of the screen. If it runs out before we've completed our challenge, it's game over. As usual, at the end of the video, we will go over all the skills and passive that make this possible. I wasn't exactly sure what we would find out here, but once I saw this first flower sand patch, I knew it had my name on it. The ideal scenario would be to compact one entire flower sand patch and one medium spice field. So when it comes to compacting on open sand, we have three key skills that are at play. And the first is sun tolerance. It's able to slow the effects of direct sun exposure. Next up, you can't have a Stillsuit build without Stillsuit seals. It greatly increases our hydration capture percentage. And last but not least, compaction gives us the ability to yield more per compaction shot. As this is considered a combat hybrid build, these skills serve as the foundation of the farming half of the setup. Stay tuned after this as we'll go into the next portion of the skills, the power skills. I could have muted the audio during the sped up portions of the video, but I think the sounds are just too good to miss out on. Especially the sound of the compactor at 300 times speed. The worm breach even sounds like a 1930s horror film. Remember, the focus here is to fill up this assault thopter, never need a water bottle, and still make it home. Next up, we're going to talk about the middle ground skills of the build, the power skills, starting with our technique, conservation of energy, moving over to overcharge, and finally finishing with rerouting. When you combine these with a Mark 6 power pack, you have the ultimate compacting setup. All of these power buffs are also useful when using a handheld cut array. But the reason they're the middle ground skills is because they also help us in regards to combat. These skills directly affect how powerful your shield regeneration is also. And shield generation is the #1 defense when it comes to PvE combat. To be honest, I didn't really consciously plan to come out into the desert as the sun was setting, but in hindsight it ended up being a pretty good decision. I was able to do the majority of my flower sand gathering without any sun to bother us. Right about here, I decided that the field was pretty much done and it was time to go. And that's when Shai Hulud popped up to say goodbye. I didn't want to be rude, so I tried to give him a high five on the way past. That was a close one. So next thing on the list was to find a medium spice field to fuel the rest of the assault. And if you notice my hydration level at the moment, things are looking good. Obviously the reason this is due to the time of day being ideal at the start of the run, but that means things are going to get hot towards the end of the run. It's the Stillsuit itself that helps us more during the night time, but it's the skills once that daylight kicks in. Remember, the goal here was to try and do this entire run in one take, so once I saw the sandstorm, we had to go around it. And at this point I hadn't even spotted a spice field yet. I had no idea where I was headed. As I looked back, I was almost tempted to turn around, but then I saw this guy. It was out into the PvP zone, but I thought I'll take the risk. As soon as we hop out of the thopter, all of our skills and our gear are trying to mitigate the harsh realities of the desert. All up, I wanted to gather at least 10,000 spice sand so that I could throw it all into the large refinery and make 200 melange. I said if we have to dump some flour sand to do it, then so be it. As the time of day has still been super favorable, we are doing great with our water. But the sun is about to come up and we have to finish collecting this spice. I will talk about the gear that I've chosen to wear in more detail in the last portion of the video. But what I will say is that I've chosen to go with a basic pair of Softstep Boots while gathering on the sand. You end up having to decide between the improved heat exposure of the Stillsuit Boots or the lesser worm aggro from the Softstep ones. This of course only applies when you're out on the sand and not if you're mining on the islands. If you're on the islands either using your handheld cut array or doing a testing station, you would always go with your Stillsuit Boots. As this is a long recording, feel free to skip ahead to the combat after this section. Otherwise, enjoy this 300 times spice compaction and collecting footage. So while our auto compactor gun was putting in work, the sun was starting to rise. This was truly going to put our abilities and our suit to the test. So I managed to almost avoid it for the entirety of the run, but our sun exposure meter started to rise. And as soon as it would hit critical, I would head back to the thopter for a reset. As I was focusing hard collecting my spice, I was visited by a little friend. We were having a lovely time playing together in the sand, until somebody had to ruin it. I told my little friend to run and hide, and I jumped back in my thopter. We've done a pretty good job on this medium field already, and we're still doing well with our water. As soon as Shy is finished ruining our party, we can get back to the challenge. So right about here, our water dropped under the first quarter for the first time. So by pressing F, we use up our catch pocket reserves and rehydrate ourselves. So now the strategy is, as soon as that meter bar gets to red, we jump in the thopter for a reset. A few more sips of the catch pocket here, as I was trying to keep my hydration as optimal as possible. And then Shy casually just strolls past the field, no warning at all. Oh, there's the warning. So a quick check of the inventory and you can see that our volume is almost full. The goal is to have at least 10,000 spice sand. That means we're gonna have to drop some flower sand. A little bit of inventory management and shifting things around. We're almost at our goal. At this point, my catch pockets are almost completely empty and we're relying completely on hydration recapture. But after we fill the assault, there's only one thing left to do: the testing station. And another sneaky drive-by, just to keep me on my toes. So now it was time to dump any excess flower sand and replace it with spice sand. And there we have it, reached our goal. Next up, we're heading to this week's D1 testing station, the Hidden Garden. Once we're at the dungeon, I'll talk more about the gear and weapons that I've chosen, and also round out the rest of the skills in this hybrid build, the combat skills. So staying true to form, I still haven't cut or edited any of the footage. We have been able to keep our hydration levels so high, we are still taking advantage of our optimized hydration passive. It gives us a massive boost to stamina when we're completely hydrated. Now let's talk about the Stillsuit pieces that I've chosen for this run. From the Imperial Stillsuit set, we have gone with the mask, the gloves, and the boots. They have great heat protection and a pretty decent armor value. But instead of going with the Imperial garment, I've gone with the crew chiefs, It has less armor value, but a greater dash stamina cost reduction. I've also swapped out one of my main skills to now include the knee charge. But I'll go over all the exact skills and passives at the end of the run. I'll try to fast forward through for the sake of video length, but slow down when I have to. To be honest, I kind of love listening and watching it like this. And that brings us to the official start of wave number 1. The goal was to bring as little with me as possible in my inventory. This included a water bottle and spice liquor. My prescience bar is only full because of the spice field that I ended up in. So I said I'd give myself one shot at activating spice during the run, but that's it. The spice helped me clear this initial wave super fast. And that brings us to the official start of wave number 2. So my 3 chosen abilities for the lab are the level 1 Shigawire Claw, the level 1 Knee Charge, and the Gravity Field. In my opinion, these 3 abilities cover all bases in regards to offense, defense, and mobility. Shigawire and Knee Charge are both low investment as they only require level 1 to be effective. Out on the open sand, I had level 1 Bindu Sprint equipped, but as soon as I got into the lab, I switched it for a level 1 Knee Charge. I tried to keep the skills as simple and straightforward as possible, and that's the only little maneuver we have to do. So that brings us to the official start of wave number 3. So the combat strategy here is to use the gravity field as defense and the knee charge and Shigawire as offense and mobility. The gravity field stops the range from shooting and the melee from advancing. It also seriously messes with their attack patterns and lets you split them up. Even though our armor value isn't super high with our Stillsuit, we're taking advantage of all of our power buffs. And that includes our technique, conservation of energy, and our passive skills, overcharged and rerouting. They add to our maximum power and power regen, which ultimately makes our shield stronger. And this being the Stillsuit build, it helps when we're out on the open sand compacting and using a handheld cut array. So that takes us to the official start of wave number 4. To keep things simple in regards to my ranged weapon, I've gone with the Perforator. It only requires a few skill points and some light darts to be effective. And for the melee, I've gone with the Fade's Drinker, for its ability to capture blood on impact. In my opinion, it's the farmer's ultimate weapon setup. The flamethrowers are very tough inside the hidden garden, but the Stillsuit does a great job, especially in comparison to the class armors that I've been using. But when it does come to the weapons and armor, you do have freedom to choose. I think what this run proves more than anything is the effectiveness of a good Stillsuit and Stillsuit passives. With the rest of the build, I've tried to make it as all-rounder as possible. Now I did go through a fair bit of bandages, but I had no more than the ones on my hotbar. Unfortunately, that's the nature of flamethrowers. And after dealing with one last straggler trying to waste my time, that brings us to the official start of wave number 5. Feel free to enjoy rounds 5 and 6, otherwise skip through to the end for the full breakdown. I thought that guy was the end of the round, but there ended up being another straggler I missed. Unfortunate. So that brings us to the official start of wave number 6, the final round. We ended up using all 20 bandages by the end of the run, but it was all worth it. So maybe it wasn't a speedrun worthy time, but it was impressive nonetheless. And remember, just before this we were out on the open sand without a water bottle, nothing but a stillsuit. All while still taking advantage of our optimized hydration passive. So before we hit the stairs, we re-equip our Bindu Sprint and jump back into our assault full of loot. This is what flight speed looks like in Dune Awakening at 500 times. I had a small amount of volume still left in my backpack, so I jumped out of the assault to take advantage of some of our cutter ray passives. Remember, with this build, whether you're out on the open sands or mining ore, the only difference is the Softstep Boots. And the difference between out on the open sand and in the lab is swapping Bindu Sprint for knee charge. You can see that up until even the last node, our hydration levels stayed above the last quarter. And now with the backpack officially full, it's time to head home to Haga. I've been able to show you guys one continuous clip from start to finish, leaving for the deep desert, filling my assault, completing a deep desert lab, and then heading home. It officially took exactly 1 hour from start to finish. But here we are, finally back at Splash Mountain. So upon arriving back to base, I was able to refine my 200 melange and about 1,600 silicon blocks. So let's take a quick look at my skills, but as usual I'll have a full build link down in the description. There will be 2 build links, but they'll only differ by 1 skill. The lab build will contain the knee charge, and the farming build will contain the Bindu sprint. Everything else stays the same. The skill points that I have allocated are the bare minimum. Feel free to use any extras that you have any way you see fit. Also, just a side note, that suspensor pad is added by default and can come in handy in some instances. In the Trooper class, I've taken suspensor efficiency. This is more suited when it comes to farming things like ore and ethelite crystal, as your suspensor is not something that you use when you're on the open sand. I've taken the standard range damage passive, but feel free to specialize into one of the other weapons also. And the reason for gravity field is its incredible versatility and stopping power. So let's quickly look over the gear and weapons, starting with the Imperial hood, gloves, and boots. And rather than going with the Imperial garment, I've gone with the Crew Chiefs for its improved dash stamina cost. Think of it like the pin cushion of Stillsuits. And last but not least, our weapon, the Phage Drinker and Blood Bag combo, and our Perforator for ranged. And in this build we can't forget to mention our Mark 6 compactor and our tile cutter. So thank you for making it all the way to the end of this extra long video. I hope you found it informative, entertaining, or even both. And if you did, please give it a like. And for all you first timers and newbies, please subscribe, as we would love to have you. And I will definitely see you on the next one.